So are you able to see the slides?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I will now go to the fourth chapter and I'll try to explain. Okay, so the fourth chapter, now if you recall the third chapter was totally on Karma Yoga, elaborating Karma Yoga and giving details of performance of Karma Yoga. Now in the fourth chapter, we have a combination of trying to understand both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And we can see that there are 4 themes to the chapter itself. So let me try to explain the theme first and why the theme is named as it is. I'll give you a very brief rundown of the shlokas themselves so that we have clarity. So Vishwarup, I'm going to mute you. Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. I think I moved forward. So now the fourth chapter begins with, of course, here the theme is very broadly as power of Bhagavan and mention of Karma Yoga. These are actually 2 themes. So power of Bhagavan is about Bhagavan having taught the sun god earlier, and the yoga that was taught by Bhagavan was lost over a period of time, and that he is telling Arjuna the same now because Arjuna is a devotee and a close friend. Then Arjuna asks, how is it that you were able to teach the sun god? Because I know that you were born in this current time, whereas the sun god has always been existent over many millennia. Then Bhagavan says that I have had a lot of manifestations on earth. I know all of them, but you don't know them. So all this is within, at this stage, we have come to about 6 shlokas of the first theme. Then comes the very famous, 7 and 8 shlokas, 7th and 8th shloka, which is Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajameham and paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkata dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So that is a very clear demonstration of the power of Bhagavan. And there is a further explanation of what the avatara does and how you can actually benefit from the avatara. So that continues till, let us say 4.13. Then 4.14 to 4.18, you have Nishkama Karma. So Nishkama Karma, where there are shlokas on karma and akarma. I'll just chant to you one of those shlokas, which goes like this. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. This is the 17th shloka. So he says that karmano, you must understand karma. You must understand vikarma. Vikarma is prohibited action, bad action. And akarma is inaction. So there are 3 categories of action that are spoken about. And that's what is elaborated. And at the 18th shloka, we have a conclusion to the entire theme by saying that he alone is wise. He alone who understands activity in inactivity, inactivity in activity, which means karmanya akarma yah pashyet, akarmani cha karma hai. So in karma, you can see akarma, and in akarma, you can see karma. Of course, I'll not go into the elaboration of this, but I was simply highlighting the shlokas so that we understand the first theme. Now, the second theme that we have is the pure conduct of a jnani. So you might find it perplexing to find how come a jnani comes in, but it is very smoothly woven in. So in 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23, and I will chant one of the shlokas for you to sort of appreciate this. So, Yeah. So one of the examples is the 19th shloka itself. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmana tamahu panditam buddha. So yasya, of whom, sarve, all, samarambha. Samarambha means undertaking. Because whenever we do a job, we have to start arambha. Kama sankalpa varjita, it is without kama, in the sense that it is without selfish desire. So such a sort of person is slowly evolving into the right word to be used there is, 1 minute, there's some problem here. Oh, what's wrong with this? I'm going to stop share for a minute. I don't know what suddenly went wrong. Let me share screen once again. Oh no. Okay, yeah, here we are. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Okay. Okay, then in the fourth chapter, we have from shloka 24 to 32, an interesting set of shlokas which have the backdrop of a havan. So in a havan, you have the Agni, you have something that is offered into the havan, which is a dravya, and then you have someone who offers, and then you have the deva who is the recipient. So the various sadhanas that we have, we can do pranayama, we can do japa, we can have sense control. All these are explained with the analogy of a havan. So you must read that, and therefore you need to understand and appreciate that for yoga to happen, when I say yoga to happen, for your yoga, for your Atma, to realize that it is the Paramatma, or for you to realize that you are not the body, but you are the Atma, which is there within you. All these are called yoga. Aapka yog hota hai, aapka understanding hota hai. So for that, the various sadhanas are in 24 to 32. And finally, since the chapter is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga or Jnana Yoga, depending upon the convenience of the commentator, the last 7, 8, how many are there? Yeah, the last 9 shlokas are on Jnana Yoga and Jnana. So we have some representative shlokas like Nahi Jnanena Sadrisham. This is the 38th shloka. Nahi Jnanena Sadrisham Pavitra Miha Vidyate. So there's nothing like in the world like knowledge, which is as purifying, and that is a representative shloka of the efficacy of jnana. So what I have done is I have given you representative shlokas in these themes, so that if you think of chapter 4, you can think of these broad themes. What are the broad themes? The avatara of Bhagavan, then something on karma, akarma, vikarma, then who is a pure jnani, then the various sadhanas that are required for jnana yajna, and the efficacy of jnana, where the famous shloka is nahi jnanena sadisham pavitra miha vidyate. Okay, so that gives you knowledge of the structure that we have in the chapter. Now let's look at the implications or the meaning that we can derive. So obviously, I'm going to be reading from Ram Shankar Tiwari.
Raja, yeah. Can I interrupt in between for a minute?
Oh, absolutely.
This is 4.18.
Yeah.
जैसे कर्म में अकर्म अकर्म में कर्म को देखता हूँ, मुझे वो चीज बिल्कुल समझ में नहीं आई. That is a bit confusing.
Okay, so let me explain that to you. It is like this.
Or you can come later, but this is the question I have.
No problem at all. And it is something that we need to appreciate, understand then and there. So I have, in fact, specially noted down, because this is a shloka where there is...
This 4.18.
Yeah, I know. That's a very well-known shloka for its ability to confuse people. So all these problematic shlokas I'm aware of. Now, let me explain it to you like this. Your mind is full of samskaras, okay, which are called vasanas. Vasana is flavor or fragrance. So the carryover from the previous life, from the previous mentality is called vasana, and that vasana is resident in your buddhi and manas. So that's the basic fact that you have to keep in mind. Now, when your mind is rid of these, so you've done some sadhana, and you've done it for a long period of time, and therefore your mind has got rid of all these vasanas, especially the ones that are negative. So when you have a mind which is a pure mind, which is rid of all these vasanas, then what happens? Even if you're doing work, so let us say with a pure mind you are doing work, so आपका कर्म चल रहा है. But it would appear as though you are doing a karma because the mind is not getting further affected by anything at all. The mind's magnetizing ability to gather negative tendencies has been nullified. So my mind remains pure. So मैं काम कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन मैं काम नहीं कर रहा हूँ जैसे ही है. Are you able to get this? Because you see, every time we do work, we have some passion, we have some personal skin in the game, and therefore there is a residue of that work which is left in us. It can be in the form of greed, it can be in the form of ambition, it can be in the form of fear, it can be in the form of anxiety. So every time we do work, there is a leftover vasana because of that work. Are you okay with that logic?
That is okay. That is okay.
Okay. Now let us say that you have made your mind so strong or so pure that no matter what work you do, it does not leave any residue in you. That is logical. Is it possible? Okay. So your mind is free of all the vasanas and it is a strong mind. So therefore, with such a mind, when you use your body to do work, because you can do either mental work or physical work, correct?
Okay.
So both mental work and physical work have to be directed by the mind. Now, under normal circumstances, when you would have used your unpurified mind, weak mind to do work, it will. Because of sadhana, you have made your mind strong. So with a strong mind, when you do work, you are not gathering any quality. काम हो रहा है, लेकिन आपके mind को affect नहीं हुआ. So it is like saying that I have Teflon proofed my mind, so that even if I physically work, my mind is not being affected. Your mind is directing the work, but is not being affected. So आपका कर्म चल रहा है, लेकिन दिमाग में अकर्म है, मनस में अकर्म है, क्योंकि उसको कुछ affect नहीं हो रहा है. Are you able to grasp this?
Yes.
So, yeah.
मैं कुछ बोलूं इस पर.
बिल्कुल सर.
मैंने इसमें अभी जब प्रोफेसर सत्यव्रत को पढ़ा था नई किताब में, इस बारे में उन्होंने डिस्कशन किया है, तो कुछ ऐसा समझ में मुझे आया कि जैसे हम जब किसी कर्म को अपनी आदत, किसी काम को इतनी आदत में डाल लेते हैं, तो हम ये फील ही नहीं करते हैं कि हमने कुछ किया है. ऐसे हमारी हैबिट में हो जाता है वो काम, ना उस पर घमंड करते हैं कि हमने किया है, तो इसलिए उसको अकर्म कहा गया है. और दूसरा एक बात और, जो जैसे विकर्म का बताया कि बैड कर्मा की बात कही गई, तो इसमें विनोबा भावे जी ने इसको बैड कर्म की जगह विशेष कर्म की संज्ञा दी है.
Don't talk about Vinoba Bhave, he will confuse. Okay.
नहीं, बट ये प्रोफेसर सत्यव्रत ने रेफरेंस दिया है. प्रोफेसर सत्यव्रत ने रेफरेंस दिया, इसलिए मैंने बोला ये बात को. तो वो बात की गई है वहां पर.
At this point in time, to explain to Sunil, let me complete this, because you see, when you talk about Vinoba Bhave, he gives a very different point of view. It is not conducive now for level 1 of explanation. Level 2 explanation is okay. Okay. So my request is, I understand exactly where you're coming from. In fact, I think what Professor Satyavrat has done is he has copied only the commentary from the book. Anvaya sab nikal diya hai, right? Because I know I have read this particular sentence of his in his book. So I think the book that I have is the older version where the Anvaya is there, and he has referred to Vinoba. So I understand. So I would just request you, I'm so sorry, Sunil ji, just ask you to hold on. I'll explain to Sunil fully, and then we can go to this level 2 of the understanding. Okay. So coming back to what I was saying, Sunil, Rastogi ji. So you are doing work, but your mind is not affected, and therefore it is very clear that karam mein akarm hai. So that is okay. That first part.
That is okay.
Okay. Now we have to understand ki akarm mein kaisa karm hai. Okay. So that happens is, now let us say that your mind is full of vasanas. Okay. It is full of desire, full of greed, full of this, full of that. Then it is actually not required for you to work even physically. कर्म करने की जरूरत नहीं, आपका बॉडी अकर्म में है, लेकिन आपका दिमाग तो बैठे बैठे सब कुछ कमा रहा है. So it's like going on a holiday and not forgetting your work. Are you with me? So when you go on a holiday and you don't forget your work, or when you sit and then you're constantly, telling your mind that I don't like this, I don't like that, I hate this person. Getting hold of all the vasanas without doing any physical work. So usually the explanation is, when I do physical work, if I have a weak mind, then my mind will collect all the residue. But your mind is in a residue collection spree even without doing work. So the body is in akarma. So we have to understand, when we say karmanya karma yah pashyet, in the first instance, your body is doing karma, but your manas is akarma, because it is not gathering any nonsense. In the second case, your body is akarma, it is not doing anything, but your mind is full of negativity, so it is collecting, it is doing karma.
Then how is doing karma? How do you say that this is karma?
Because doing karma is gathering negative tendencies. बैठे बैठे मैं तुमको गाली दे रहा हूँ यार.
अच्छा, मतलब वो भी एक कर्म है, मगर वो विकर्म हुआ. वो तो नहीं, मगर वो तो विकर्म हुआ, कर्म नहीं हुआ.
No. So in this shloka, that's why I said, don't go for vikarm. That's why, it will confuse the issue. So at this point in time, so it can also be something good, like for example, I can sit here. This is what happens to lovers, no? All the people who are in love with each other, क्या है, यहाँ बैठे बैठे सोच रहे हैं जी, लैला मजनू बन गए, right? How do you become Laila Majnu, right? And then how do you get the frustration? In the end, both lovers are in some kind of fix because they are sitting at home. Their bodies are physically tied up like Romeo and Juliet, but their minds are very active. So it need not be for a negative tendency. It is the activity of the mind and its ability to gather tendencies. Can be positive tendency, negative tendency, but usually we speak of negative tendency. So in that connection, you could say vikarma, but to introduce that term now will cause confusion. Therefore, I don't introduce that term now. So all that I'm saying is, you are physically inactive, you are mentally active. And that mental action of yours is leading to generation of further residual sediment. You are sedimenting your mind without any activity. Otherwise, usually sedimentation happens when you have activity. But if your mind is pure, then obviously there is no sediment at all. So whether you do work or you don't do any work, your mind is clear. Are you with me? So this is with particular, yeah. So this is the interpretation of karmanya karma yah pashyet akarmani sa karmaha sa buddhiman manushyeshu. Only that person is buddhiman, which is, so you see, we have an explanatory shloka in the 3rd chapter, which I'll come to now. And what is that? It says, Karmendriyani samyamyah. This is the 6th shloka of the 3rd chapter. So what does it say? Karmendriyani samyamyah yah aste manasa smaran. आप मन ही मन में आप बैठे हो, फिजिकली इनएक्टिव, मन ही मन में आप सब स्मरण कर रहे हो. इंद्रियार्थान विमूढ़ात्मा मिथ्याचार से उच्यते. तो मैं कहता हूं कि मैं लड्डू नहीं खाता हूं, लेकिन मन ही मन में लड्डू का जो है पूरा हलवाई का दुकान है मेरे मन में, तो मैं and I boast to everybody. See, I don't have any desire for sweet. Okay, but in my mind only sweets are running. Then I am a hypocrite. मिथ्याचार, मेरा जो आचार है और मेरा जो मन है, दोनों में split है. So मिथ्याचार से उच्चते. So this basically says that it is mind control which is important. If you have a strong mind, no matter what work you do, it does not affect you. If you have a weak mind, no matter how inactive you are, you will always be gathering tamasha in your head. So are you okay, Sunil?
ठीक है.
Yeah. So now we come to the explanation. I don't want to go into it now because it will unsettle the thinking. So yes, so there is a point of view that Vinoba Bhave takes, which is quite contrary to all the commentators. So you should actually read all other commentators before you go to Vinoba Bhave on these two shlokas. So my recommendation is first read up the others, and then you'll be able to appreciate what Vinoba Bhave is saying. But I personally do not agree with him because everything else is right. But his explanation of Vikarma is also against Sanskrit. Though he's a Sanskrit scholar, yet he has given one ulta explanation. So anyway, that's a different matter. It's a matter of 4 or 5 different commentaries and commentators, and for you to realize. But we are not talking about that.
नहीं, इसमें हमने एक्चुअली अकर्म को माइंड से जोड़कर नहीं देखा था. एज यू आर एक्सप्लेनिंग, हमने अकर्म को आदत से जोड़कर देखा था कि अकर्म मतलब जैसे हमें उसकी फल की इच्छा नहीं होती है, तो हम इसलिए अकर्म कह रहे हैं. हम इसलिए कह रहे हैं कि जैसे अगर हम कर्म करते हैं और हम उसकी इतनी आदत में ढल जाते हैं तो हम उस पर घमंड नहीं करते हैं एक तरह से. जैसे अगर जैसे घर में खाना बन रहा है तो लेडीज आपको बार बार ये आके नहीं कहती है कि देखो मैंने खाना बनाया, कितना अच्छा बनाया. ये इट इज ए पार्ट ऑफ हैबिट. तो ऐसे ही एग्जांपल में ये आता है कि जैसे हम जो भी काम करें तो ऐसे लगे कि वो इट्स ए पार्ट ऑफ अवर ड्यूटी. तो हमें ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि उसका हमें कोई बहुत रिजल्ट मिलने वाला है. हम उस सेंस में देख रहे हैं इसको, तो इसलिए वो अकर्म हो गया है.
Correct. So we need to understand it in the context of the commentator, right? So I have used a different commentator. In fact, I have used Ramana Maharshi's explanation of this. So you have Vinoba Bhave's explanation, but basically what it tries to say is that there are 2 opposite currents that handle those 2 currents. One is the current of work.
नहीं, सत्यव्रत ने दोनों को ही रेफर किया है, विनोबा भावे का भी रेफर किया है, और उसने कहा है कि ये विकर्म का मतलब ये है, इसमें विशेष कर्म विनोबा भावे, और उन्होंने कहा है कि विशेष कर्म के विकर्म का तो जो कर्म का वो नहीं हो. तो मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग अब ये है कि जो कर्म से अकर्म है वो रेसिड्यू है, और जो दूसरा पोर्शन है अकर्म कर्म, दैट इज बेसिकली विकर्म है. मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग अब ये हुई है.
But the usual explanation of vikarm is prohibited work. In the next
prohibited work. Okay.
Okay. So since many of you have this book, I think the explanation that we have is very good. In fact, actually, Sunil, when you showed me the Hindi version, I realized that I too had the Hindi version. Right? I picked it up, and actually, the Hindi version, Hindi is always very interestingly more powerful than English. So you'll find that, the Hindi translations are excellent. So in the 4th chapter, I think I'll just read the Hindi version of where is this? Yeah.
नहीं, मेरा तो हिंदी में ही, मतलब जो है स्कूलिंग हुई है, सब कुछ हिंदी में ही हुआ है.
हाँ, so I can understand.
हिंदी में तो that is very close to my heart. हिंदी उसमें ही पैदा हुए हैं. तो मैंने कोशिश ये करी कि जितनी भी बुक्स हैं उनका अगर हिंदी वर्जन मिल जाए तो मैं हिंदी मंगाऊं, जिससे घर के और लोग भी पढ़ सकें इसको.
नहीं, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. तो वही द लास्ट स्टेटमेंट, जब तक आप अपने आप को नहीं जान लेते, ईश्वर को नहीं जान पाएंगे. दैट्स द ट्रांसलेशन. सो आई थिंक दैट्स वेरी ट्रू. ऑफ कोर्स ईश्वर और आप का जो बेसिक है दैट इज द सेम, but you have to first understand yourself before you can understand others. So that's
but this summary doesn't explain the chapter 4 in full. Manifestation of God का तो बात ठीक है, but if summary पूरा explain नहीं करती है.
Yeah, so the thing is, you will understand now that, you see, when you go through the Gita yourself, you will understand that everybody has given a selective version of their understanding. Correct. So this is Ram Shankar Tiwari ji's understanding. It need not be your understanding. So you should write your own summary of the Gita actually.
अभी उस स्टेज में, अभी तो किंडरगार्टन में है.
No, that's okay. But then, the very fact that you've chosen to select a few shlokas is indicative of the fact that you're ready to go. Okay, now let me come to the 5th chapter. Now, the 5th chapter is a kind of perplexing chapter in one sense, because you see, it could well have been a continuation of the 4th chapter. So if I were the person who chapterized the Gita, I would call the 4th chapter as 4th chapter part 1, and I would call the 5th chapter as 4th chapter part 2. But that is not the name that is given. So you have, actually the names are also very similar. The 4th chapter is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, and actually the name of the 5th chapter is Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So just Jnana is removed. So, but then you'll find that there is a greater amount of Jnana and Karma. So it is similar to the 4th chapter in terms of looking at Sankhya Yoga, which is Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga. So the theme continues. So we look at what the shlokas indicate, and it's a very short chapter actually. It's just 29 shlokas. So it's not something that we find to be as long as the other chapters. So the whole chapter begins with Arjuna's question that you are praising action, at the same time you are praising renunciation of action. So how can both be true? And then, so renunciation of action is Sankhya Yoga or Sannyasa Yoga. So the terms are used very interchangeably, and we should be alert to the terminological ambiguity. So Sankhya Yoga is Jnana Yoga is Sannyasa Yoga, whereas they can also be explained differently. So when we read the commentaries, we should just be mentally alert that we understand how the theme of the chapter is being elaborated. So the first 6 shlokas are about Arjuna's question, saying that on one hand, O Krishna, you are praising renunciation of action, and on the other hand, you're praising action. So tell me what to do. Then after that, there are 5 shlokas, taking us all the way up to 6, shloka number 6, which gives Krishna's explanation that Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga are one and the same because they lead to the same goal. So they are, so for example, the very famous shloka that we have is the 5th one, which I'll read for you. Yat Sankhye prapyate sthanam tat yogairapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sa pashyati. Which means that yat sankhya prapyate sthanam, through Jnana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Sannyasa Yoga, whatever you achieve, tat yogairapi gamyate, the same you reach through Karma Yoga. Ekam Sankhyam cha yogam cha. So the 2 paths are one and the same. Yah pashyati sa pashyati. One who sees and understands this is the one who truly understands. So that's what we have in the first 6 shlokas. Then we again have in the 7th to the Karma Yogi and their respective merits. So one of the shlokas that we have is the 10th shloka as a representative. Brahmanya adhaya karmani sangam tekva karoti yah lipyate sa nasa papena padmapatra ivambasa, which is he who, after relinquishing attachment, resigns his actions to Brahman, remains untouched by sin, like a lotus leaf by water. So a lotus leaf has got a waxy surface. So the water drop that falls on it actually does not stick to the leaf. It can fall off anytime. So in the same way, when you perform any action, it does not have any impact on you. And this is quite in line with the and akarma. Reach a stage of mind where whether I do karma, it does not impact me, and that is because my jnana is very strong. And therefore, jnana being the basis of karma yoga, from shloka number 13 to 26, which is a very substantial part of the chapter, about 14 shlokas, we have the shlokas that talk about Jnana Yoga. One of the important shlokas that I would highlight and chant is shloka number 16, which says, Jnanena tu tad jnanam, tad ajnanam, yesham nashitam atmanah, tesham aditya vaj jnanam, prakashit tatparam. So this in English is, but in those whose ignorance is destroyed by the knowledge of the self, the knowledge like the sun will shine forth, right? So जो आपके अंदर जो ज्ञान है वो आदित्य जैसे है. And then the last 3 shlokas are a connecting shloka group to the 6th chapter. So 6th chapter is the chapter which is easy to understand because it's on meditation. So the 6th chapter does not have these kind of broad ambiguities in terms of what does it teach. It broadly teaches the yoga of meditation. And the closure that we have in the 5th chapter is in terms of 2 shlokas which describe to a certain extent the process of meditation in very little detail, and therefore we proceed ahead. But the last shloka of the 5th chapter is an important shloka because it is actually quoted quite often, because this actually explains the function of Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is Bhoktar. I'm chanting the 29th shloka. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shanti michati. So Bhoktaram, so जो भी आप sacrifice करते हो उसके भोक्ता भगवान है. Sarvaloka maheshwaram, he is the boss of the entire world. Suhridam, he is your friend, sarvabhutanam gyatva, and if you know this, mam shantim richati, you will have peace of mind when you realize that all that you do is for the Lord, all the sadhana you do is for the Lord, all the yajna you do is for the Lord, and the reason why he is the recipient is he is Sarvaloka Maheshwara. So 529 is deemed to be, of course, you have the first glimpse of bhakti in the first 6 chapters, because mostly it has been about karma yoga, jnana yoga, and this is the first hint of bhakti. And chapter 7 to 12 are all about bhakti. So there is this very interesting indication of the bhakti to come. Okay. Now I will move to the summary that I have. So this is, fairly clear. I'm sure that, going through this. So these are all conclusions drawn by, and it is important. So what I would suggest you do is, in your study of these chapters, you can look at the theme, and when you read the shloka, you will try to mentally understand why has the theme been given as it is. So you'll have to see the common purpose in the shlokas that I have numbered. 1 to 6 is so and so theme. So you should do that. 1 minute. There's a lot of noise because kids are playing. Just shut the door. Yeah. And it's a useful exercise because when you read these summarized insights of Ram Shankar Tiwari ji, you can try to connect back to which shloka did he conclude this from, because that is not explained here, but obviously he's not going to be summarizing the chapter just from thin air. So these insights, these are not translations of the shlokas, but these are conclusions drawn from the shlokas. So it's a useful exercise to go back. For example, you may say action is superior to inaction. So definitely it seems to be from theme number 1. You can maybe connect it to one of the shlokas. Intelligently performed action will lead to negation of conflicts in the mind. This is also from theme 1. Then let us see, have no extreme likes and dislikes, they create contradiction within the mind. This could be from the 2nd theme, right? So he's also sequenced his insights in the flow of the shlokas, and therefore it's a useful exercise to consolidate your understanding by correlating a very logical insight that Ram Shankar Tiwari has created to the shlokas themselves, because it will anchor your understanding of the chapter far better. Though, yes, you'll have to work really hard to do that. You'll have to sit in the evening and do that, but it is a worthwhile exercise, is my submission to you. So I'm not going to be reading all this because this is available to you. And in fact, this is actually not something which is Greek and Latin. It is a very logical conclusion from the shlokas that are available to all of us through the books that we have. Now I'll come to chapter 6, and chapter 6 is actually very easy. So you have 1 to 4, which talks about Nishkama Karma. Then you have the characteristics of a sage between 5 and 10. Then very clearly, the bulk of the chapter is on the method of meditation, and there are various aspects to meditation that we can all relate to because we would have all done meditation in one way or the other. Then there is the famous question of Arjuna, which is that I don't believe in all this because mind is very difficult to control. I'll read that particular shloka because it indicates the question of a disciple. So Arjuna says, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadrinam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkanam. So he says that the mind is chanchala, restless, pramati, turbulent, balavad, strong, dridam, obstinate, tasyaham nigraham manye. To control the mind, vayu river, like vayu, it is very difficult. So that's what we have in 32 to 36. It's a wonderful question from the disciple and a wonderful answer where Krishna says, yes, asanchayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha dhyate. So Krishna agrees mind control is very difficult, but abhyas and vairagya will help you, and that's the wonderful answer he gives. So 32 to 36, again, a very clear, distinct topic and a consequence of the method of meditation. Then in the last part of the chapter, we have Arjuna saying, why do people, I mean, what happens to people when they are unable to complete their sadhana? Is it that they are condemned? Is it that sadhana is lost? So Arjuna poses the question, and the future of the aspirant who fails to reach the goal of sadhana and what happens. And in the end, actually, I should reverse the sequence of the topic. This is the future of the aspirant who fails to reach the goal alive. And the conclusion is with the excellence of Dhyana Yoga, because the famous shloka that we have for the excellence of Dhyana Yoga is in fact the last shloka, second last shloka. Tapasvibhyo diko yogi jnanibhyo pi mato dikah karmibhyas diko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. A yogi is superior to a man of austerity. He is considered superior. So yogi here is dhyana yogi. A dhyana yogi is superior to a man of tapasya. He is superior to a man of knowledge. He is superior also to a man of action. Therefore, the tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So the excellence of dhyana yoga is highlighted in the second last shloka of the 6th chapter. And to look at, as I said, some of the insights. Actually, these insights are very useful because it goes beyond the wording of the shloka and represents what we can actually take. So we take these messages of the Gita because they are in the language of our mindset, but they are always relatable to the shlokas that are there in the chapter itself. So again, the exercise for you is in terms of correlating. In fact, I would actually say, and I'm going to actually stop the presentation here, is probably as an interesting exercise, you can take the insight statement and you can say is equal to or derived from shloka number so and so. You're understanding what I'm trying to say? This will really make it difficult for you, but I think it's just the right thing to do.
I think this is a better exercise now.
And your understanding here you have the shlokas here. You're actually putting the two together. It will be a wonderful exercise.
So we have to do two exercises or only one exercise?
So I think so what we can do this time, just to have a variation, to correlate Ram from.
Your screen was frozen. It is not clear.
So what you said, we could not hear.
Yeah, no, I will repeat again, which is to correlate the insights and summary as elaborated by Ram Shankar Tiwari ji, which I put in the slides, to the shlokas they come from. Are you able to get me?
Yes, yes. So we need not to do the important shlokas like the previous one. This will be...
Yeah, so that we'll do for the next round. So we'll alternate methods of learning. Otherwise, you'll get bored. So what we will do is, we will say, so I will give you an example. So we have these 6-7 statements that Ram Shankar, or 10 statements that Ram Shankar Tiwari has made based on his study of the Gita. So those are his conclusions. So what we have to say is, which shlokas has he derived these conclusions from?
अच्छा राज, इसमें एक एग्जांपल करके दिखाइए, जैसे अभी था कि एक्शन जो है इनएक्शन से बेटर है.
Yeah.
So let us see which shloka it covers.
Sure. So let's go back.
इसमें हो सकता है कि 2-3 श्लोका से कवर हो वो. ऐसा भी हो सकता है.
Bingo. So actually what you will find is, it may not be one shloka. It would be, so first what you have to do is, you have to figure out which theme it is under. Because that is a set of 6 shlokas or 7 shlokas. So obviously it has to be from one theme or the other. So if you're able to first correlate, okay, aapke jo hai, I will give you an example. For example, let us just go back to the exercise. Okay. So I'm going to share once again. So let us take this. Okay. Now, the theme is Nishkama Karma and the attributes of a sage established in yoga. This is shloka 1-4. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have the first conclusion that Ram Shankar Tiwari is, detachment is an attitude of mind, not cessation of work. Okay. So what do we have? So let's take the first 6 shlokas. So kya bolta hai? So look at the second shloka. That is what it is derived from. Yeh yam sanyasamiti prahu yogam tam vidhi pandavah nahya sanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. So know that which is called renunciation to be in fact yoga, O son of Pandu, for none becomes a yogi without renouncing sankalpa. So renunciation of sankalpa is an attitude. Detachment is an attitude. And so actually this is also from the first shloka. He says, वो सन्यासी है जो अपना काम करता है, ना ही वो जो कि अग्नि को नहीं चलाता, ना ही अपना घर बार का छोड़ देता है. So this is derived from shloka 1 and 2. Does it make sense to you?
राज, इसमें जैसे संकल्प की बात की गई है, तो संकल्प तो हम लोग अच्छी चीज समझते हैं, तो ये लोग संकल्प को क्या फल की आशा से रिलेट कर रहे हैं?
Yes, so the word sankalp is used both positively and negatively.
मतलब संकल्प का मतलब हमने जो गोल सेट किया है, तो यहाँ गोल को छोड़ना है. संकल्प होता है कि जो हम गोल सेट करते हैं.
No. So संकल्प में जो अपना सेल्फिश गोल सेट करते हैं. काम के लिए संकल्प करना बहुत जरूरी है, लेकिन जिस संकल्प में आपका ही आपका प्रॉफिट है, उसमें यज्ञ नहीं है, उसमें दान नहीं है, उसमें तप नहीं है, वो नेगेटिव संकल्प है. उसको समटाइम्स विकल्प भी बोलते हैं. विकल्प. Though these are used very differently from the way they are used in Hindi, So if often we get confused with the Hindi meaning, because Hindi, आपका विकल्प क्या है means आपका idea क्या है, इसके लिए विकल्प क्या है, what's the solution?
हाँ, option. What is the second option?
Yeah, option. विकल्प क्या है, but it is not used in that sense. So it is when we read 4 or 5 commentaries and come across the usage of the term that we understand how commentators are using it.
वो बड़ा कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं कई बार उसमें,
मतलब
हिंदी में
संकल्प
पढ़ते
वर्ड तो
और
हम लोग नॉर्मली जैसे काम शुरू करने से पहले संकल्प लेते हैं कि भाई ये हमें ऐसे करना है और ऐसे फाइनल गोल ये सेट करना है उसके लिए।
Correct,
तो
correct. So conceptualization is called sankalp, but depending on the context in the Gita, sankalp can be negative also.
मतलब संकल्प क्या संस्कृत में भी यूज किया है?
संकल्प तो संस्कृत में ही यूज किया है सर।
तो मतलब इट इज नॉट ए इशू ऑफ, मतलब उसका संस्कृत मीनिंग ही अलग है।
नहीं नहीं, संस्कृत मीनिंग नहीं, उसका मीनिंग इन दी गीता अलग है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट।
You have rightly
I
said
don't know.
कि डिटैच हो जाना है, मतलब कि इम्प्योर हो जाए। once we do the work, so don't get the residue attached. This is one good example. This can be applied practically. ये मुझे लगा कि भाई उसको कैरी करते हैं, उसको डिटॉक्स कर लें, डिवायर कर लें, मतलब ये है ना कि
in fact I am reminded of a song. So जो impure mind का संकल्प होता है वो खराब होता है. So it's like that song, बुरे काम का बुरा नतीजा क्यों भाई चाचा हाँ भतीजा. Right. So if you have an impure mind, then the sankalp of that impure mind will be negative. If you have a pure mind, आपका अगर बुद्धि सात्विक है तो उसमें जो संकल्प होता है वो निमित्त मात्रम होता है ना. It is the divine will. But if you have a negative, so negative संकल्प कहाँ से आता है? जब आपका बुद्धि बहुत राजसिक होता है, जब आपका मनस बहुत राजसिक होता है, then it is called, and that kind of sankalp is not allowed for. So I know it is sometimes very confusing. So it is okay, in the confusion, try to, do the exercise, because it will tell you where all there is. See, the one difficulty of the Bhagavad Gita is that there is no terminological sanctity. One word is used in one sense in one shloka, it will be used in a different sense in a different shloka. So we are entirely dependent on the commentator for what the interpretation is. And that is why there are so many interpretations of the Gita. I will just read one particular example to help you appreciate this logic. So there is a Gita called Ashtavakra Gita. You may have heard of that. It is a Gita which is a conversation between Raja Janak and Maharshi Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra, he was actually physically challenged and he had 8 curves in his spine, and he was, but he was spiritually very mature. So I'm going to read something about the Gita, about Ashtavakra Gita and its comparison with Bhagavad Gita. So this is quote, the Ashtavakra Gita is not nearly so well known as the Bhagavad Gita for the very reason that it is so specifically clear and unambiguous that it does not lend itself to twists and turns required by commentators to justify their own philosophical prepositions or spiritual leanings. It contains superbly authoritative statements and clear assertions, so obviously based on intuitive experience and conviction as to deny and utterly negate any effort for ingenuity or intellectual acrobatics. It is a comparatively small treatise, compact and well-knit, containing about 300 verses of 200 lines. So basically, there are some texts which lend themselves to no ambiguity. But the Bhagavad Gita is composed in a way where it lends itself to a lot of multiple interpretations, which is why it is also popular. If it was simply by 1 + 1 is equal to 2, there will not be so many commentaries of the Gita. Let us remember that. There are all these commentaries of the Gita because it is a wonderfully flexible, and this may be startling to you. That is why you have Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya. You have, in fact, I have also picked up a communist Marxist interpretation of the Gita. Can you imagine? So they also find some value in the Gita in terms of some of the shlokas. So therefore, when there are people who criticize the Gita, they call the Gita a text which says nothing or says everything. So how can you say nothing and how can you say everything? So that's one of the challenges of the Gita. Therefore, the best way to approach the Gita is to take one or two commentaries which are standard, entrench your understanding, with the standard, and they should be good commentaries which you can relate to. आपका दिल उस commentary में होना चाहिए. And then you can compare and contrast with other commentaries with the very clear understanding that they are not right or wrong, but it is just a point of view. So whenever we have these debates on meaning, I am actually at a loss as to what I should explain because there are so many explanations. So especially when it comes to Sunil ji, because Sunil ji is a very logical person. मेरे को ये बताओ बॉस, इसके आगे मैं नहीं आगे बढ़ूंगा जब तक तुम नहीं समझाओगे. Right?
इसमें एक पार्ट बचा है, इसमें नॉट सेसेशन ऑफ वर्क भी है, जो अभी आप एक्सप्लेन कर रहे थे, उसको जरा पूरा कर ले. इसमें एटीट्यूड ऑफ माइंड के बाद नॉट सेसेशन ऑफ वर्क.
हाँ, so
काम को रोकना नहीं है.
हाँ, तो इन दी श्लोका यू हैव द सेइंग, वही योगी होता है जिसका मेंटल एटीट्यूड है, ना कि वो जिसने अग्निहोत्र करना छोड़ दिया. भाई मैं सन्यासी हूं, मुझे अग्निहोत्र जो कि गृहस्थ को करना होता है उसने छोड़ दिया. So he is seized with that activity.
Yes, 6.1 है फिर. Yes, 6.1. हाँ.
Correct, 6.1 है. Correct. So you can derive this conclusion from 6.1. But for you to derive it, you have to read the explanation of 6.1. You have to keep the conclusion. So you have to make two charts. One chart is Ram Shankar Tiwari ji. The other one is three charts, in fact. One is Ram Shankar Tiwari. Other is the theme that we have, those 4-5 themes that we have from Vidya Prakashananda. And then what are the shloka numbers that we have? So there is one Kunji, which is Ram Shankar Tiwari is also approaching it from top down. He is starting at the beginning and he is going through the shlokas all the way till the end. So it is not that he is mixing up the sequence of his insights. So if you simply run through in a sequence, you will be able to attach these shlokas, but that's where the learning would be. So Sunil ji, are you okay with the assignment?
So now I could understand कि इसमें अब हमें पहली लाइन के बाद 6.2 में क्या है और 6.1 में क्या है, ये लिखना पड़ेगा कि ये लाइन इन दोनों श्लोक से अटैच होती है.
Correct. So you understand why
this assignment is actually tougher than the previous one.
That's why.
अब ज्यादा पढ़ना पड़ेगा. हाँ, ज्यादा पढ़ना पड़ेगा
और पढ़ाई बढ़ती जाएगी और ऊंची डिग्री हासिल होगी.
Absolutely. So
if we have to graduate, तो किंडरगार्टन से प्राइमरी में तो आना ही पड़ेगा ना. सीधे कॉलेज में पढ़ जाएंगे.
सेल्फ स्टडी का टाइम तो अब मिला, अभी तक तो कॉलेज खुला था.
But it is great fun. It's great fun. Yeah, Vishnu, you were saying something? Yeah.
There are two questions. First is the answers are from 1 to 6 chapters. That's what I'm asking. Because then we have to read all those chapters before we answer these questions.
No, actually, since you already submitted your understanding from chapter 1 to 3, which you did now and the others did last week, this assignment where we look at the insight is for chapter 4, 5 and 6.
बट आपकी श्रद्धा है, आप करना चाहो कर लो 1, 2, 3 में भी.
हाँ, बिल्कुल आपकी
श्रद्धा है. improve his grade फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर फिर से देना चाहता है.
एक्चुअली आंसर तो पूरी गीता में छाए हुए हैं. आंसर जो है अगर आप देखोगे तो पूरी गीता में अलग-अलग छाए हुए हैं.
हो सकता है कि आपने जो उसमें समराइज किया वो एक में फर्स्ट चैप्टर में, हो सकता है कहीं आपको आगे भी लिंक मिले उसका.
Yes. You see, the Bhagavad Gita is highly
या ओवरलैपिंग भी हो सकती है.
बहुत कुछ. So I'll tell you what, there is one more very interesting book that I have, which is Gita in 1008 questions. So वो Q&A के format में है गीता. So not the questions of Arjuna, but simply a question. I'll just give you an example of that. जैसे मान लीजिए अभी हम 6th चैप्टर कर रहे हैं ना. So एक तो स्वामी रामसुख दास का है Q&A, उसको गीता माधुर्य बोलते हैं, बट उसमें उतना मजा नहीं है जितना कि इसमें है. ओके. So, for example, chapter 5. Okay. Who is a sannyasi? This is the question asked. A sannyasi is one who does the ordained duties with his mind resting in the Lord and not looking for rewards. This is the way they are given the answer, which is correlated to Shloka 1. Okay. Is the sannyasi one who does not do any work? No. It is impossible for anyone to remain without working. How long should a person work? A devotee should work always. There is no respite for work, for work is a synonym of life. Who is a yoga rood? Yoga rood is in the third shloka. A yoga rood is one who has direct knowledge of the Lord. तो ऐसे ही सर Q&A है, 1008 क्वेश्चंस हैं, तो भगवत गीता को 1008 क्वेश्चंस में ऐसे डिवाइड किया है. So if you read
who is the author?
Author, this is actually, sir, इसका कोई author ही नहीं है. This is one bhakta of the Madhva tradition. So Madhva, तो उडुपी में है ये, पेजावर मठ है ये. तो हाँ, तो 1 minute, तो his name is सीताराम राव. उनकी जो फोटो भी है यहाँ पे.
अच्छा.
8 क्वेश्चन में डिवाइड किया है. And for example, the last question is, what is the message of the Gita according to Madhvacharya? ठीक है. So what Madhvacharya, that message is the Lord is different from, so इनका they have a different philosophy. The message is that Lord is different from all else. He controls all else at all times. He's being controlled by nobody. So nobody controls the Lord. He is absolutely supreme at all times. His being is home or virtuous attributes. So they take Sharanagati. Their whole philosophy is based on extreme bhakti. So Krishna is the ultimate boss. Of course, they are a variation. I would say ISKCON is a variation of Madhva and Ramanuja. So therefore, they say he is the boss.
How many hours do you read on an average? Just all my fun.
Sir, देखो ऐसा है कि मैं आपको जो है, I'm telling you, I'm actually remodeling my room, and I'm going to put my table, there. तो एक जो है आपको चेयर दिख रहा है यहाँ पे?
Okay, दिख रहा है.
तो मेरा और कोई काम धंधा नहीं है सर. मैं वहाँ चेयर में बैठे रहता हूँ, जो मन में आए ये बुक निकाल लेता हूँ, क्योंकि चेयर के जो बगल में जो 2 शेल्फ हैं वो भगवत गीता है, बाकी सब तो और बुक्स हैं, और पढ़ते रहता हूँ.
Good. Very good habit. It's just like meeting the person who has written the book. So this
Correct.
is the मतलब है कि meeting the person because you are
absolutely 100%, sir. देखो आप जो है physically तो आप, so this is what in electrical and electronics engineering we call synchronous and asynchronous transmission. So when you have a book,
virtual हो गया.
yeah, so I can meet this whatever this सीताराम राव तो मेरे हाथ में है ना, मेरी मुट्ठी में है. तो उनको जो भी भगवत गीता के बारे में कहना था वो एडिट करके सब लिखा है. तो उनको अगर उनकी बात समझ में नहीं आई तो आई डोंट हैव टू से कैन यू प्लीज रिपीट योरसेल्फ. वो कहने की जरूरत नहीं है. आई हैव टू सिंपली ओपन द बुक ऑन सम अदर डे विद अ फ्रेश माइंड टू अंडरस्टैंड. सो आई टेल यू एक्चुअली मेरे दोस्त आए हुए थे, मेरे जो बैच के स्टूडेंट्स आए हुए थे. They came to this room. They said, "Boss, this is too much." So actually, Sunil, while on one hand we will of course meet when you come here to Bangalore in the common forum, but I humbly request that you should come to my house.
Definitely. I'll try to.
Yeah, try to. We will try to.
भाई वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग से हम लोगों को शामिल कर लेना.
बिल्कुल.
Yeah, in fact, we could do that. We can do that. So it all depends, right? Of course, he'll be staying at his son's house, so he'll be dependent on what. अब बेटे घर में रहोगे तो बेटे की बात भी तो सुननी पड़ेगी ना. बेटे का जो है वीटो इम्पैक्ट होगा.
नहीं, बेटे की बात सुननी पड़ेगी. उसके एक्चुअली थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम मेरे को, बिकॉज आई कैन नॉट ड्राइव, आई हैव टू डिपेंड ऑन आइदर माय सन और
करूंगा. अरे बेफिक्र रहो.
और या फिर जो है आई विल कम बाय कैब और समथिंग. वो
नहीं, डोंट वरी. बस आपको जो है you have to only physically land here in Bangalore.
And I think you are quite far from Whitefield right now.
नहीं यार, मेरी गाड़ी को भी जो है थोड़ा बहुत ड्राइविंग चाहिए ना. नहीं तो घर में 2 साल घर में बैठे जो है वो उसका भी पेट खराब हो गया है. उसको एक्टिविटी नहीं मिला.
नहीं, वो मेरी गाड़ी की बैटरी डाउन हो गई तो उसको ठीक कराया. फिर उसके बाद सेकंड टाइम डाउन हो गई तो
सर वही हाल है, बैटरी मैंने भी सर 6,000 रुपए देके बैटरी चेंज कराया क्योंकि बैटरी को
नहीं, लास्ट ईयर वो कराया था चेंज, लास्ट ईयर तो चेंज कराया, इस बार भी 2 बार करा चुके हैं। देन फाइनली आई गेव टू माय नेबर्स कि भैया तू चला उसकी गाड़ी को जितना चला सकते हो, बिकॉज ये ऑफिशियल गाड़ी तो उसके बेटे चला रहा है वो।
So anyway, so the sum and substance is that you are coming over here and
definitely.
Yeah, you should.
That was in my mind. No,
absolutely. So we will look forward to that. So therefore, if there are any thoughts, so that we have clarity on the assignment, Vishwarup, are you clear?
Yeah. So 4, 5, 6. So that means, as far as I am concerned, I have to prepare 4, 5, 6 before I go into these answers. That's what I have to. That's what I was planning actually.
Yeah. So 4, 5, 6 in this format, which is Ram Shankar Tiwari and the Shloka connection.
No, but I have to know the Shlokas of 4, 5, 6 before I go into Ram Shankar.
Obviously.
I'm just planning my...
Only 1 minute left.
Okay. Right, guys. So thank you so much for your time today. And we will catch up again.
Achha, I had raised circulated one real-time case study, which I wanted because उसमें कर्म, अकर्म और विकर्म के तीनों ही चीजें कवर हो रही थी.
I will look at that. मैं देखता हूँ उसको. I didn't read that.
तो मैं चाहता था कि उसको हम एज ए फोरम में इसको हम लेकर के, इट मे बी डिफरेंट कंडीशन में डिफरेंट वो होंगे, पर कैन वी टेक अप दैट एक्सरसाइज, मैं जानना चाह रहा था बस.
ओनली नमस्ते का टाइम है अब.
Okay, bye. Take care.
Bye.